Hi, this is Mark from Skywagons Podcasts, and today we've got a very interesting gentleman in called Bob McCormack, who's got an incredible aviation career through all the singles, jets, military, airlines, and Reno Air Racing. So, Bob, thanks for coming in and filling us in. And also, Bob is going to be flying the L-29s at Roswell this year, and one of those L-29s will be a Skywagon University plane sponsored by, and the other one is going to be the Plane Crazy Life L-29 that you own.
Correct.
So just give us a background about your aviation history.
Okay, as we were just discussing, I learned to fly in 1975. So 50 years ago, I started my flying career. Then finished college and went into the United States Air Force. Went to pilot training at Laughlin Air Force Base in 1980. And
What was your trainer?
I flew the T-37 Tweety Bird and the T-38 Talon. They when it came time for assignments, they decided that I needed to come back and teach others, which I did for the next approximately 3 or 4 years.
Like Tom Cruise in Top Gun went back to Miramar.
Very similar, yes.
Okay, good.
And so I got a lot of experience as a T-38 instructor. And from that, I got an assignment to fly the F16 C model in Germany. And to go to that, I had to go through fighter lead-in training at Holloman Air Force Base in the T-38 and advanced T-38s. Then I went through, learned to fly the A model F-16 at MacDill Air Force Base, and then the C model F-16 at Luke.
And how many hours have you got in F-16s?
I have just over 1,000 hours in the F-16.
That's a lot in a fighter, isn't it?
For a single assignment, that's quite a bit, yes.
And then a very interesting story that we just discovered from Bob, getting to know him, having bought the jet off him, the L-29, is a high-speed ejection after an mid-air collision. Just tell us that entire story.
Well, it was 1988, and I was learning to be a flight lead. The instructor, his name was Mike Crandall, outstanding pilot and individual. And we went out. The mission was supposed to be basic fighter maneuvers where we basically do fly against one another in the air.
And this was in Germany?
In Germany. And we were supposed to go do that till we got low on gas, and then we go to the KC-135 tanker and fill up on fuel and go back to the area, do more basic fighter maneuvers, and then return to the base. The mission went as planned until we got to the tanker after the first session of BFM, and the tanker had given away most of their fuel, so they only had enough to give us enough to go back to our base. So, change of plan, we terminated the mission and headed straight back to our Hahn Air Base in Germany. On the descent, I put Mike Crandall, the instructor, in what's called fighting wing formation, and he's supposed to be about 1,500 feet back from me on about a 45 degrees, so that I'm free to maneuver.
Okay.
And it allows him to maneuver with me, so as to I don't have to worry about him as I go back to the base.
Where he is, all right.
And during the descent, we turned to the base, and all of a sudden, at one point, I felt a tremendous impact from behind. It's almost like a Mack truck running into the back of your vehicle. And the next thing I know, the entire canopy is covered with fire, and I can't see out.
What did you think had happened?
I was pretty sure I'd been hit by another airplane. I wasn't 100% sure who did it, but I was pretty sure I'd been hit. It was very violent. And shortly thereafter, the front of my canopy started to clear up, and all I saw was green rushing up at me, and it was the green of the fields below me of the near Mainz, Germany.
What altitude were you at when you realized what was going on?
When it happened, I was probably below 2,000 feet in a pretty good descent getting down, because we normally return to the base at about between 1,000 feet and 500 feet, going back to the air base. But this happened. I saw the green and I pulled back on the stick, and actually the descent increased, so I knew that the airplane was no longer responding to control inputs. So I used the throttle to shut down the engine. I'll get to that in a second, why that was irrelevant. And then I reached down between my legs and I pulled the ejection handle. And then I sat there for a long period of time. And that long period of time is actually 0.25 seconds is what the...
0.25 of a second?
Of a second.
Quarter of a second?
Quarter of a second. That's how long it's supposed to take, but it felt literally like 5 minutes. When the ground is rushing up, as a safety officer or an accident investigator, I read too many reports of, and the aircraft hit the ground with no attempt to eject, so I was not going to be that guy. So I'm sitting there pulling on this ejection handle, and it finally functions. The canopy comes off, the seat goes up the rails, and as I'm going up the rails, I see my what's left of my airplane falling below me to the ground. I got a good parachute. The Air Force gives outstanding training on post-ejection procedures, and I did all those.
Didn't you see the engine go past?
I did not.
Oh.
I found out about that.
Oh, someone else?
Later on, and I'll get to that. But so I did my checklist of my procedures and got prepared to land, and I came down in the same field as my aircraft, and my back hurt a lot, and I had gotten burns on my neck from the flames that I went through during the ejection. I picked up my parachute and my life raft and my survival kit, and I walked to a road where a car drove me a little bit down the road to a computer store, where I called back to the base and explained what had happened. And they did their after emergency ejection checklist and sent crash fire rescue and ambulances.
Is that the first they'd heard of it?
It was. They hadn't heard, and not only that, I was kind of mad because when I called them, they put me on hold. And the last time they saw me was walking out the door to get into an F16, and now I'm calling them on a landline. So something out of the ordinary must have happened. But in any case, I wasn't feeling well, so the computer store allowed me to lay down on a table, and because my flight suit was still smoking a little bit from going through the fire. And I didn't realize I had broken my back, but I had 2 compressed vertebrae and burns on the back of my neck.
How old were you when this happened?
I was 31 years old, and I was in good condition, and the ejection seat worked as advertised. I actually sent a letter to the Douglas Corporation that made the ACES II ejection seat, thanking them for saving my life.
Really?
And they sent me a little certificate back saying I was the 128th person to be saved by the ejection seat, and they sent me a little certificate and a really neat tie tack of an ACES II ejection seat.
Oh, nice.
With the date engraved in it.
Oh, good.
Then 3 UH-1 helicopters showed up, 2 German and 1 United States Army, to take me to different hospitals. But another ambulance, ground ambulance, showed up from Mainz Finthen Army Air Base, not too far away. And they're all arguing about who's going to take me and where I'm going to go. And I outranked I was a captain, and I ranked all the helicopter pilots. They were all first lieutenants. And I said, if it's all the same with y'all, I'd rather not get in another flying vehicle today. I'd rather go in the ambulance.
Understandable.
Ambulance. And so I did. As the ambulance was pulling away, the technician of the ambulance took a photograph of part of my airplane that was sticking out of the road we went by. It was the AIM-9 missile from my aircraft that had impacted into the road, was sticking out.
Not live?
No, it was a training missile, but it looked just like an AIM-9 Sidewinder. I later found out through the board president of the accident board that when the impact happened, it was my instructor, Mike Crandall. He ran into the back of my airplane and knocked everything from the trailing edge of the wing back off my airplane. And also, it knocked the engine of my aircraft out of the aircraft. So the engine went over the top of my canopy like a bottle rocket, trailing fuel, and actually landed 3 miles in a field further down.
It went 3 miles further than the fuselage?
Yes, because the fuselage was just falling. The engine was still at 85% RPM, and it just went like a bottle rocket. The flight data recorder for an F-16 is attached to the ejection seat. So when the seat leaves, the data recorder records the last bit of data and then comes to the ground with the seat. So they were able to tell me that when I ejected, I was at 850 feet. I was at 350 knots, and I was in a 45 degrees nose low, 45 degree left bank when the seat left the aircraft. They said that the Douglas experts on the ejection seat said that if I had pulled the ejection seat any later, I would have been out of the envelope. And I basically pulled it at the last second. And the accident board said that if I'd pulled the ejection handle a second earlier, I would have been hit by the engine as it broke off and came over the top of the canopy. So for that one day, I was the luckiest man alive.
You went through a 1 second window where you made it.
Yeah, but it's not like I was smart and I knew what I was doing. I just pulled the handle so I didn't, I wasn't the guy that didn't pull the handle.
Right.
Because in all actuality, I thought I was outside of the envelope, and I very closely was. But after that, I got very good medical care. I was in a back brace for 2 months. They told me it was going to be 6 months, but I healed very quickly, and I was back flying F-16s 2 months later.
What was it like when you first took off in the next flight after that?
Actually, it was fine. I went out with my flight commander in a two-ship. We went up over northern Germany and did some intercepts and went to the tanker. And the only part that triggered anything with me is at one point we did a steep descent towards the ground from 8,000 feet. And I got just a mild feeling of what I had just before I ejected. But that was the only thing I can remember about being any different than any other flight.
And in the 1,000 hours of F-16 flying, where was the ejection? Beginning, end?
It's towards the end.
Okay.
I had 1 year to go on my assignment. in Germany. And at the end of that, I got out of the Air Force and got hired by Continental Airlines shortly thereafter, where I spent the rest of my career flying for Continental and then United when Continental and United merged. I spent 32 years at the two airlines.
What was it like going from like upside down G-forces fighter flying to sitting in the regimented environment of an airliner?
Excellent question. It was very different. I was very fortunate that Continental at the time, they provided a special training called Crew Resource Management Training, which was fairly new at that point. And it was one of the reasons why I really did want to go to Continental, because I knew that they provided that training. I didn't realize that at that point all the airlines did, but I knew that Continental had it. And during my interview, they asked why I wanted Continental, and they thought that was a really good answer on the interview. So they gave a course, multi-day course on how to operate as a functional crew, which is important because I was a single-seat fighter pilot. So when I was flying my F-16, if something went wrong, I flew the airplane, I problem-solved the issue, and then I landed the airplane. I didn't have anybody else I could rely on.
Mm-hmm.
But an airline crew, you can... I was initially put in the DC-10, so I had a captain, a first officer, and I was the flight engineer. So the co-pilot would fly the airplane, the captain and the flight engineer would take care of the emergency, and then would call the company, call the flight attendants, deal with air traffic control, after we made up a plan of how to safely recover the aircraft.
Did you have any events when you were flying for the airlines?
Not very many. Had 2 times where we had to shut down an engine and land on a 3-engine airplane. Losing an engine is not really a big deal. Later on in my career, I flew 2-engine airplanes, the 737, 757, 767, 777, and 787, but I never had an engine problem in any of those.
But did you keep flying the jets as a hobby to get the fighter pilot, keep feeding the fighter pilot in you?
Yes and no. I didn't get my first L-29 until 2012, so it was quite a space of not flying fast mover jets. But I had a aerobatic aircraft that I flew and could go out and do my aerobatics to keep current. I bought my first L-29 in 2012 for $25,000, and it's cheaper than your car, but it's very expensive to put fuel in. So
did you buy it to race it, or you bought it for fun and then raced it anyway, or how did that work out? We ended up at Reno.
In 1981, I went to the Reno Air Races for the first time, and I became highly addicted to going to the races. It was just something I liked to do.
As a spectator, though?
As a spectator.
Mm-hmm.
And I always sat in Section 3, and anybody who knows the Reno Air Races knows what Section 3 is. It's have the orange shirt people. And so I was always a spectator. Never once thought I would ever be a participant in the races. When I bought the L-29, I now had a vehicle which I could take to the races and be a part of the show. And so in 2016, I went through Pylon Racing Seminar, which is the school you go through to be able to race. And that year I raced and came in third in the bronze class, which was pretty good for a new guy.
Oh, yeah. And this year you're going to be racing 2 of them.
Correct.
And tell us about the classes and categories and differences of those 2.
Well, in the jet class, depending on how many airplanes they bring, they'd like to have at least 5 or 6 aircraft per heat. So if they have 18 aircraft show up, they can have 3 heats of 6 aircraft each. The slowest aircraft will be in the bronze, the next will be in the silver, and the fastest will be in the gold.
Of each heat?
Of each heat.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we have 2 aircraft. One belongs to me, and it's Black Airplane Race number 1. And
what's her name?
Her name is Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Since 2019, all my aircraft have been named Athena, and they've all done very well. The Athena is a high-powered engine version of the L-29. The stock engine is taken out, and a Pratt & Whitney JT-12 engine, the Air Force equivalent of a J-60, is put in, and it's got almost double the thrust.
Double.
It's a modification done by Steve Kalmar of Eastern Bloc Aircraft, and he did 5 of them as far as I know. And this is the last of the Mohicans, so it's the final one.
What do you gain with big engine? Obviously, it's speed, but massive fuel burn.
Yes and no. It burns more fuel, but it gives a proportionately more thrust, so the airplane will be significantly faster. Stock L-29,
like mine,
like yours, will at the air races they measure it in miles per hour. Stock L-29 will do approximately 400 miles per hour, whereas the JT-12 version will do upwards of 500 miles an hour. So it's significantly faster.
Wow.
And the stock airplane, from idle to full power, takes approximately 14 seconds for the engine to speed up. On the JT-12, the high power one, it's just a matter of a couple seconds. So
instant.
It's much better.
So you don't have to
technology.
maintain 56% minimum or anything like that, like in the old one?
No.
And what is my plane's new name?
Your airplane will be race number 6, will be its race number, and her name is Freya.
Which is brilliant.
The queen of the Norse gods. And so,
years ago, I went with my brother on a polar bear sort of Arctic trip to the North Pole on an icebreaker with some paying guests, and that ship was called the Freya.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's actually a very good name for it. And then I thought I'd buy it sponsorship for the TV show, which is Plane Crazy Life, and various other things, and then sell it like some sort of aircraft sales guy, but apparently not.
Well, it may behoove you, depending on how much you like it, to go through the training after the races. The training doesn't take very long for a pilot of your caliber, and that could be done in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And after that, keep the airplane for your plane crazy life
like the
TV
logo,
show.
The logo plane.
Yes.
But I couldn't fit it in here, could I? We've only got 3,800 feet at Placerville.
We'll work on that. I believe it can.
Oh, really?
Yes. I flew the race 1 Athena down to Tehachapi a couple weeks ago, and it's a 4,000-foot runway. And I had it at taxi speed about halfway down the runway. So.
Oh, really?
We'll work on that.
But for me, like private single-engine land, Cessna Piper Beach Mooney, if I had to transition into this, give us some of the big numbers everybody would want to hear, like what speed does it take off at, what speed does it land at, and what it feels like to fly a sort of Czechoslovakian fighter trainer.
Okay, well, it was designed to be the first trainer a Soviet Pact student would fly that has a jet. And so it was designed in the 1960s, and it's a 2-seat front and back, straight wing aircraft, very, very forgiving and simple to fly. If you can handle a Cessna 172, you can fly this. You don't have to propeller or mixtures to worry about.
Just thrust.
Just thrust.
But what does it land at? I mean, if you're coming over the fence, what are the numbers?
Well, you fly the pattern at about 120 knots, and you turn on the final approach. During that turn, you slow to 100 knots, and you fly down final at 100 knots. You pull your power back before the overrun because it floats tremendously, and the stall speed is 75 knots.
75, same as a 182.
Very similar. And so you land, and the difference is instead of foot brakes, it has a hand brake, like
No
a
way.
bicycle.
Really? Both wheels?
Both wheels. So you hold the stick and you grip a bicycle handle. When you want to apply the brake, you squeeze the brake. If you have the rudder input one way or the other, it ports braking force to the wheel that you're pushing for. So it will turn in that direction. So that's how you steer on the ground.
Okay. And
it takes about 2 seconds to get used to.
For you, so you very kindly offered, because I bought it off you, and we're going to go to Reno, and we're at Roswell. I'm going to be flying it. But you've said, come up to Reno Stead, where it is, and you'll familiarize me with it.
Yes, there's a lot of things that you have to learn about it. Primarily how to operate the front and the back canopy, how to start the engine, how to operate the gear and the flaps and the hydraulic items.
And not simultaneously.
Exactly.
I read that.
You can only do one at a time, and that's bitten a lot of people in the past. But if I can impart those lessons to you, it'll make your transition to the jet so much easier.
So once I'm familiar with it, then I go and do some hours with like a guy for a check ride.
Yes, you'll fly with a certified flight instructor who will give you a minimum of 3 hours of flight instruction. And when he is satisfied with your flying, then you'll go with a designee, an FAA designee, to get your experimental type certificate on the L-29.
So that's a type rating for a type.
Yes.
Specific to that plane.
Correct. And for each kind of airplane, for an L-39, for a SOCO Galab, Jet Provost, you'll have to take different check rides for each of those aircraft.
Okay. The fuel burn on it, if I were to keep it and use it for a while for fun, what am I expecting for, like, in cruise? What does it burn an hour?
It burns approximately 150 gallons an hour. 150 gallons an hour. And
That's $800.
Approximately, depending where you go. Well, you get very good at becoming Scottish and picking your fuel stops for where the fuel is inexpensive.
And what's the range?
On a stock airplane, it'll go upwards of 300 nautical miles. I would plan more for 250 just to give yourself
So about an hour.
a reserve. Correct.
So safely land every hour for fuel.
Yes.
So going to Roswell, actually, for the race from Reno.
We'll have to stop twice on the way.
Okay.
And so
Interesting.
You don't want to be worried about fuel in that airplane.
No. And then it will be at our Plane Crazy Live tent, and also yours will be at our Plane Crazy Live tent. And I think that our Plane Crazy Live tent, have I said that enough, is going to be the hospitality tent.
For the jet class.
For the jet class, too. And we're going to have all kinds of merch there, and there's going to be, Mike Kennedy's going to be there with us. So it should actually, I mean, it's all new to me, but it should actually be very good fun. And hopefully millions of people turn up and watch it. So it's, do you get nervous before a race? I mean, is it, what's the feeling?
No, it's like flying any kind of fighter mission. Is your adrenaline flows more, but there's an excitement, and you're glad to be going and doing out what you're trained to do.
And the chances of you winning the gold in yours is actually pretty high, isn't it?
It's kind of a toss up. It just kind of depends on who else shows up. If another faster airplane shows up, then it's just going to be based on pilot skill. And I have just about 10 years of pilot skill, and I know all the tricks. If the person doesn't know all the tricks, then it'll depend on pilot skill and the speed of the aircraft.
Are we letting the cat out of the bag by telling people that you're going to be racing?
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's not classified in any way, shape, or form.
And then in the silver, or is it bronze? Mine.
Right now, it'll be in the silver.
Silver. What chances has mine got?
Well, of the stock L29s that are registered at this time, it is the fastest one that has done well in the past. So
Fingers crossed. Might even win it.
So there's a possibility if we get enough airplanes where they put a sixth airplane into the silver, then all bets are off because a stock L29 can't compete with a stock L39.
Oh, okay.
So if they bump a L39 back to the silver class, then we'll be second.
Okay. Is it like a horse where if it wins a race, it's worth more?
Absolutely.
Is it?
Absolutely. When it comes time for you to sell it, you can say it came in second in the silver class at the inaugural Roswell Air Races, and
Excellent.
that has some bragging rights. And the jet that you bought is a very, very solid aircraft, one of the best maintained L29s I've ever seen.
Good.
Everything works very well, and it has a great pedigree and history. So you bought a good one.
So, Bob, we're going to go in a few days. I'm going to go to Reno, and you're going to fly me around in it. We're going to film that a little bit, see if I can handle it a little bit. Then it will go to Roswell, and then Roswell we're going to film a lot. There's going to be a production crew there, so keep an eye on the channel. And Bob, it's been a pleasure to talk to you about that. That's something to have lived through, that event, F16 ejection. Thanks a lot for coming in, and thanks a lot for selling me the jet.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for buying it.
Yeah, cool. So this is Mark at Skywagon University podcast, but also talking about Plane Crazy Life, being at Roswell, and the future of the show that will be on YouTube called Plane Crazy Life is going to be a professional production with a lot of interesting people in it. So thanks very much for watching. And Bob, thanks very much for coming in. And if you liked it, there's a subscribe and a link to get notifications. And we'll see you on the next one.